First reading is from the Babylonian Talmud. What is the reason for Hanukkah? For our rabbis taught, on the 25th day of Kislev, the 8 days of Hanukkah begin, during which lamentation for the dead and fasting are forbidden. For when the Greeks entered the temple, they defiled all the oils therein. And when the Hasmonean dynasty prevailed, they made search and found only one cruse of oil, which lay with the seal of the high priest, but which contained sufficient oil for 1 day's lighting only. Yet a miracle was wrought therein, and they lit the lamp therewith for 8 days. The following year these days were declared a festival, with the recitation of hymns of praise and thanksgiving. Our second reading is the poem Hanukkah by Unitarian Universalist minister Lynn Unger. Come down from the hills, declare the fighting done. Be bold, declare victory, even when the temple is wrecked and the tyrants have not retreated, only coiled back like a snake, prepared to strike again. Come down, try to remember a life gentled by daily acts of domestic faith. The pot set to boil, the bed made up, the table set in calm expectation that when the sun sets, we will still be here. Come down and settle, unlearn the years of hiding, light fires that can be seen for miles, that dance and spark and warm the frozen marrow. Set lamps in the window, declare your presence, your loyalties, the truths for which you do not expect to have to die. It would take a miracle, you say, to carve such a solid life out of the shell of fear. I say, you are the stuff from which such miracles are made.
So I'm going to trust that most of us here are familiar with the basic elements of the Hanukkah narrative. There's Antiochus, the nasty Assyrian king, and the brutish Greek Empire who harshly occupied the land of Judea. They defiled anything Jewish that they could lay eye or hand on, and persecuted Jews for any outward manifestation or expression of their religion. The elements of the Hanukkah story include a downtrodden people who are conquered, occupied. The very heart of their religious home, the temple site of the sacred Torah, has been taken over, and that too has been defiled. Many of the once faithful Jews began to lose their way, even identifying with their captors. Darkness abounds. The story is filled with darkness. The light in the hearts of the people is nearly extinguished. The light in the heart of the people collectively was nearly extinguished, all but defeated in the face of insurmountable odds. Yet even when things are at their worst, when the struggle seems most impossible, courage is somehow mustered and hope is rekindled. And from that small light of hope, the people learn once again who they are. They learn to claim and to take their place once again in the world. What was lost is found, and out of the great darkness, a miracle of light abounds. The story of Hanukkah gives us a collective and a personal reminder to take courage, to have hope, to go the struggle, and to find our own way through the darkness, to find our own way through those seemingly insurmountable odds. Our congregation, as you just heard a moment ago, but beyond that, our state, our country, and even the world all have issues that question the very sustainability of our future. We have questions that we must face and collectively find our way through. We each have our own life issues that we must face over and over again until we go deeply enough, darkly enough, into them in order to accept who we are within those struggles, and therein to find the light of hope. Hanukkah reminds us to consider our plight as a people. I have to imagine that there are many comparisons that might be made between the traditional Hanukkah story and the story of our own occupation in Iraq, and I don't even venture how many commonalities we might find with what is occurring and about to occur in Afghanistan. There are certainly comparisons that might be drawn to the growing darkness within our environment, though, and the small ray of light that is shining this week in Copenhagen. I know that I don't often speak about the war in Iraq, and perhaps I've been negligent in that regard. I have spoken many times on issues of our environment, but still neither of these issues are what's capturing my heart this week, this morning. There's another matter that has been burning in me this past week, let alone the past several years, and I trust that I'm not alone here in facing that particular issue. I find it quite inescapably comparable to the Hanukkah story. But before I address that particular concern, I want to talk just for a few minutes about what I think is at the very core of meaning that we might find in this ancient story that's worth our paying attention to. My colleague Lynn Unger wrote, "Come down, try to remember a life gentled by daily acts. Acts of domestic faith, the pot set to boil, the bed made up, the table set in calm expectation that when the sun sets, we will still be here." I think that the very pivotal point, the very pivotal moment of this story of the Maccabees occurs when they ignite that lamp in the temple. They've been through hell up to that point, all the way, every step, but still they are facing a hopeless situation when they light that lamp. The ritual calls for the lamp to be lit as part of the rededication, and although it will take 8 days to render the new oil, they go ahead and they light it with only 1 day's supply. And I don't know about the miracle of that 1 day's supply burning for 8 days. I don't know about that. That sounds a little fanciful to me. The miracle, though, is that they took the chance, that they took the step in living out their lives with the integrity that was required of them in order for them to reclaim those lives. I can't speak about whatever miracles of warfare that might have occurred to allow them that military victory. I'm a conscientious objector and I don't understand military things. But I'm also a religious person, and I do understand something about the power of ritual, the power of intentionally repeated, purposeful behavior, devoted behavior that can oftentimes enable us to move, to stand up in the face of impossible odds. When we despair, we do nothing. When we act, though, we step into our future. In just taking the next step, we create hope in that future. Ritual can provide us with an idea of what we might need to do. The Maccabees lit the lamp in the temple. Having a burning lamp did not save them. It was the lighting of it that saved them. What was important in that action was the step. It allowed them to move out of bondage and into self-determination. The ritual was not the miracle. It was the vehicle. The miracle was in the faith and the hope expressed in that action, in that step, in the audacity of lighting that lamp. I had a very good friend back in Illinois who died just a couple of years ago, but back when I lived there, she and I collaborated on a number of different performance kinds of artful endeavors. And a few years, not too many, before I met Lucy, her husband had died. And she wrote a book about how she'd reclaimed her life from that very devastating experience. Sometimes when we see people who have just incurred an incredible hardship, we think, how can that person possibly get out of bed in the morning? I know that I often think that. When people go through things, I think, how can they pull the covers off and stand up and start their day? But the day after my friend Lucy's husband's funeral, she could not get out of bed. She couldn't get out from under the covers for days, and she lay there sobbing, unable to move. And that went on until she began to remember her life, remember her 2 daughters and their home. She remembered that she was a writer and a fabulous cook, and she got out of bed and began to resume her daily rituals, her daily routines, cleaning and caring for her girls, baking and cooking. She started to write her newspaper column again.